store, so hurry on down. We have plenty of them, and we want to sell them to you. So come on down. Goodbye, Mrs. Jackson.
I'm really glad I got this job, but Hardware Hal is, well, different.
Hey, look at all these signs. Hey, come on, kids. We got a lot of work to do. We got to get all these signs up before the simple and compound machine sale tomorrow, okay?
It's getting pretty close to closing time, Hal. When will we be done with work?
Work is done when a force causes an object to move a distance.
No, when will we be done with work?
Well, you'll supply the force, the effort. These signs are the objects you'll move, and the distance is to all the displays in the store.
Work is done when a force causes an object to move a distance. Work equals force times distance.
I got an idea. Let's put the signs on the simple machines first.
Simple machines? I thought you sold tools.
Ah, but any tool that helps to do work is a machine. Machines help by reducing the effort needed to do work. The more helpful a machine is, the more times it multiplies your effort or force. If there's not too much friction.
I'm afraid to ask, but what's friction?
Well, all things that touch each other have friction. And that can slow the work down.
The 6 simple machines: the lever, the wheel and axle, the pulley, the inclined plane, the wedge, the screw.
All machines, even simple machines, make work easier by multiplying the force or multiplying the distance, or simply by changing the direction of the force put into the machine.
Well, when I think of machines, I think of washing machines, and cars, lawn mowers, tractors.
Aha! Those are compound machines. Compound machines are just combinations of 2 or more simple machines.
So how do I know which ones to put the signs on?
Well, let's just take the 6 simple machines one at a time. First, the lever. A lever begins with a rigid bar, but it's not complete without something to pivot on. This is called a fulcrum. The distance from the fulcrum to the end where effort or force is applied is called the effort arm of the lever. From the fulcrum to the weight or resistance is the resistance arm of the lever. A lever transfers work. It can simply change the direction of my effort like this, or check this out. If we move the fulcrum and make the effort arm longer than the resistance arm, we can move more weight with the same amount of effort or force. But to get this multiplication of effort, we had to give up something. In this case, we gave up distance. We moved more weight, but it didn't go very far.
So machines make work easier by changing the direction of the effort, or by multiplying the effort, or by multiplying the distance.
A machine cannot multiply both force and distance. Pick one, any one. It can work the other way too, and the other way, and the other way. You could make the effort arm of the lever shorter, then, even though it takes more force to move the lever, the weight moves a greater distance. Most machines make work easier by multiplying either force or distance. But no machine can multiply both force and distance. I got an idea. Let's go find some levers, okay?
I've got one! The broomstick is the lever. One hand is the fulcrum, and the other hand is the force. If I move my hand lower, I can get more force to the end of the broom. Higher up, the end of the broom moves farther, but it takes more effort for me to move it.
Here's one. With this lever, I'm strong enough to lift Hal. The effort and his weight, the resistance, are on the same side of the fulcrum.
The fulcrum is in the center of these tongs. The handle is the effort arm, and the ends hold the weight, the resistance.
That's right, and you found all 3 types of levers. There are actually 3 types, or classes, of levers. The position of the fulcrum, weight, and effort are different in each class. In a first-class lever, the fulcrum is in the center. The effort and the resistance are on opposite ends of the lever. In the second-class lever, the fulcrum is on the end. The resistance is in the center, and the effort is up on the end. The lever on a wheelbarrow and dolly work this way. In a third-class lever, the fulcrum is on the end, but the effort is in the center and the resistance on the end. Can you spot the lever here? These are third-class levers. These are second-class levers. And these are first-class levers.
The wheel and axle.
There's only one problem with the lever. It can't move the resistance very far, but what if nothing stopped the effort arm and the resistance arm? They are free to revolve around the fulcrum. The wheel is sometimes called a lever in the round. Think of the levers as spokes. Add a rim. The fulcrum is the axle. You've got a wheel. Presenting the doorknob. Yes, it is an example of a wheel and axle machine. The center of the axle is the fulcrum. The resistance is the radius of the axle. The effort arm is the radius of the wheel. A small effort applied to the wheel results in a large force turning the axle. In this case, the force is great enough to move the resistance, the bolt in the lock. This idea is easy to see in this type of doorknob. And if you've ever had a doorknob fall off, you know how hard it is to turn the axle and open the door without the wheel to multiply the force of your hand. This tiny steering wheel is big enough to turn the axle on an ATV. You need a bigger steering wheel to turn the axle on this tractor. It's important to see that the wheel is always rigidly attached to the axle. Some wheel and axle machines don't look like wheels at all.
A screwdriver is a wheel and axle machine?
I see it. The handle is the wheel, and the shaft is the axle.
Aha! Aha! Take a close look. Take a close look at that. Isn't this a wheel and axle machine?
Is this the way gears work too?
A gear is a wheel with teeth. It's another lever machine with a continuous band of levers around the edge. Alone, it can't do much, but combined with other gears, it can transfer effort to another gear, multiply force, and make the smaller gear turn faster than the larger gear turning it. It can even change the direction another gear is turning. Look closely. You'll see wheel and axle machines everywhere. The pedals on a bike, a can opener, even on a ride at the county fair.
This water valve is operated by a wheel and axle.
What about rollerblades?
Well, not exactly. But speaking of rollers, did you know that the ancient Egyptians used them to make their work more efficient? Without rollers, the heavy stones which were used to build the pyramids were very difficult to move along the ground by humans.
Get off my back! Quit your shoving!
Remember, friction can slow the work down. The Egyptians used logs as rollers to reduce friction. That made them easier to move. Some wheels serve no other purpose than to reduce friction, like ball bearings in skates and rollers on rollerblades.
The pulley.
Do you know this simple machine?
It's a pulley.
Uh-huh. The pulley is a wheel with a rope, belt, or chain around it. It's used to change the direction of movement or the amount of force you need to move something. In a fixed pulley, like a flagpole, only the direction of movement is changed. In a movable pulley, the pulley moves along with the resistance so it is able to multiply your effort. You need to multiply your force to lift these heavy sails. A combination of fixed and movable pulleys can lift a lot of weight. This combination is called a block and tackle. You can lift even more with a hoist. A hoist is a combination of many pulleys. And this pulley can support all your weight just for fun.
Okay then, how about these?
Well, that one's easy. We used one of these today to help Mrs. Jackson with her new mower.
Remember when we tried to lift the mower into the truck? We only had to move it a short distance, but we needed a lot more force to lift it.
When we used the ramp, I had to roll it a further distance, but I could do it alone. It took less force.
The inclined plane.
Some examples of inclined planes are stairs, ramps for wheelchairs, roads that wind up hills, boat ramps, playground slides.
The wedge.
Now, the wedge is surprising. You can think of it as an inclined plane that moves. A wedge is shaped like two inclined planes back to back. It is used to multiply the force needed to penetrate very hard objects. The longer and thinner the wedge is, the less the effort force required to overcome the resistance force. The wedge moves the resistance apart from each other.
Hal's Hardware sells a lot of wedges!
Like nails, a chisel, the blade of a plow, axes, sharpening decreases the thickness of the cutting edge. The sharper the edge, the less effort needed to move through the object being cut. A knife has a wedge and a paper cutter, a can opener, even needles. We actually make wedges here when we make keys. Ha-ha! Look, lockjaw! The edges of a key are a series of wedges. The wedges push up the pins inside the lock. When all the pins are the right height, you can turn the key and the lock will open. Just as the wedge is an inclined plane that moves, the screw is an inclined plane wrapped around a central bar. The inclined plane forms a spiral and is spread over a long distance. The edges of the inclined plane are called the threads. As it rotates, the screw moves a certain distance up or down, in or out. You can see this in a nut moving up a bolt or a corkscrew moving down into a cork. The screw of the clamp can hold things in place. Tops of jars are screwed on to hold tight. Light bulbs are screwed into sockets. The screw multiplies the effort force by acting over a long distance. In other words, the more turns it takes to move up the screw, the tighter the hold.
Over 2,000 years ago, Archimedes invented a special screw inside a tube. It could scoop water from the bottom of the tube, move it up the threads of the screw, and dump it out over the top.
There are different kinds of screws like this wood screw. It has a pointed edge.
It's like a wedge.
Right, it can penetrate the wood. As the screw rotates, the inclined plane moves it down into the wood. You could say the wood moves up the spiral. The force to this simple machine is applied to the top. You could think of the top of the screw as a wheel. The shaft is the axle.
No wonder screws hold tighter than nails. That sounds like a wood screw is a compound machine all by itself.
Compound machines.
You've done a great job, kids. Your work is done. Now, you think you'll be able to show our customers where all the simple and compound machines are?
Sure, we labeled all the 6 simple machines. The lever, wheel and axle, the pulley, the inclined plane, the wedge, and the screw.
And the compound machines are just 2 more simple machines combined.
All right.
Like a can opener, it has a lever, a wheel and axle, and a wedge.
Scissors are actually a compound machine, 2 levers and 2 wedges.
And a post hole digger is made up of 2 levers and 2 wedges.
In a bicycle, the brakes are operated by levers. The pedals are cranks. A wheel and axle machine. Of course, the wheel and axle is a simple machine by itself, and it looks like the chain and gears can multiply the force of your legs. They are actually a pulley.
I still sell a hand edger. It has a wheel and axle and a wedge. From can opener to hand edger, they all use human power, or effort. Then there are things that you usually think of as compound machines that have other power sources like wind, electricity, or fuel engines.
Machines, simple or compound, were invented to overcome the limitations of human power. Late for an appointment. See you later, kids.
Now do you see what I was saying about Hal?
Well, I don't know. He seems pretty normal to me. Just yesterday, the belt on my mom's pulley in her crankshaft broke. Our wheel and axle hit a rusty wedge, and I had to use a lever to change the tire. And then, when the tow truck finally came, he used a pulley and an inclined plane and took my mom's car to the shop. So can I get a ride home in your compound machine? Wait, is there a problem with your wheel and axle? Is one of your pulleys out too? Wait! Can I get a ride?